Welcome to RealEstateInvestorTV.com, REI/TV.com. I'm your host, Nick Sifoni, and I'm glad to see you again today. Today we're talking about seller financing, how to buy houses and leave the loan in the seller's name so you don't have to worry about the mortgage. Now, there's a lot of different ways to do this, different ways to purchase, also different ways to sell with seller financing. But today we're talking about buying. One of the ways is something we've talked about in a previous episode, and that is subject to. Subject to is when you buy the house from your seller and they just leave their mortgage on. Now you actually own the house, but instead of you getting out and getting a new mortgage, there's no loan in your name. You just make their mortgage payments. Now it all has to be done properly. Watch, for future videos when we actually go into the more subject to in detail, where we teach you the steps on how to do a subject to transaction. The subject to is when you just explain to your seller, I'm going to buy the house, but instead of me going out and getting my own mortgage, we're going to leave your mortgage on it until I either refinance or until someone else buys the house from me. And that's probably the most simple way to buy. Now remember, when you're using seller financing, when you're buying by seller financing, you're not going out and getting a loan. At least you're not, you're not getting a new loan, I should say. In some cases you are getting a loan from the seller, but you're not getting a traditional loan. You're not going through any review process. You're not submitting your credit. It's all purely done by the seller, basically whatever the seller is willing to do to sell the house. In most cases, there's no money down. I don't think I've ever put money down when I've bought a house with seller financing. No, I can't say that. I did put money down once. I put $1,750 down on the house once. So subject to is one of the first ways. Another way to buy with seller financing is a wraparound mortgage, wraparound, and that's when the seller, it's very similar to subject to, but instead of the seller just deeding you the house, now you own the house and you make their mortgage payments to their bank, they actually do create a new mortgage. They create a mortgage from them to you. Now, in either case, now here, I ring the bell on this one because this is something I want to give a little disclaimer. Almost in either case, it's a question for your accountant, you're going to be able to deduct the taxes that you're paying at the end of the year. With the subject to, it's a little gray area. You have to make sure that the seller knows, and I actually added some paperwork now to my subject to deals where the seller states they realize although the loan is in their name, the mortgage is in their name, they can no longer deduct those taxes. Ask me how I know that one. I'm dealing with that now, but maybe I shouldn't say that. Are we on tape? I guess we are. So, in any case, a wraparound mortgage, you actually have a mortgage created from that seller to you. So you're actually paying a mortgage rate. You can negotiate the interest rate, you can negotiate the terms, whether there's a balloon or there's not a balloon. As you should know, a balloon is a certain date that you agree to pay the mortgage off in full by. So a wraparound mortgage, there's two mortgages involved. There's the mortgage that the owner, the seller, has to his bank. And then there's the mortgage, the new mortgage that is from you to him, where you're buying the house from him. You'd also do the same thing. Now, that's in the case that the seller has a mortgage on the house. It's not paid for. Now, strangely enough, there's a lot of houses out there that are paid for, and that you'll get fully with seller financing, where the seller owns the house outright. There's no liens on it, and they'll sell you the house. You still own the house, and you have a new mortgage, again, created on the house. We just negotiated. I suggest, and we're going to do the next episode, tomorrow's episode is going to go more into detail on how to talk to the sellers. But we just sent the contract out. Actually, this is it right here. This is it here. And the contract states there's no interest involved. We told the seller it's $215,000. We told the seller, we'll pay you $215,000 for the house. You're going to give the mortgage to us. You're going to create a mortgage where we're paying you. He owns the house outright. And we told him we're going to make $1,000 a month payment, and every month that $1,000 comes off the price of the house. We have a 5-year balloon, so we're giving him $1,000 a month. So in 5 years, we will have given him $60,000. We're paying him $215,000, and the contract clearly states that when we buy, we're buying it now, but when we pay off that mortgage in 5 years, we're only going to owe him $155,000. So every $1,000 we give him is coming off of the price of the house. It doesn't get any better than that. We're not paying interest. Normally on a regular loan, we'd make that $1,000 a month, and in 5 years, instead of $215, we'd owe them $200 or $205 or something. So everything's negotiable when you're doing seller financing. And the last one is a lease option. That is a form of seller financing. Another bell ringer there. Pay attention here. You never buy a house with a lease with an option to purchase from somebody if they're in trouble. If there's any chance that they might be having any, they got to have good credit. They got to be on their way up. You don't want to lease from somebody who's on their way down or having foreclosure problems, because I guarantee you, if they're having problems with that house, it's Mickey Mouse, huh? Literally. If they're having problems with that house and you lease that house from them, what happens in 6 months or a year if they're being sued by everybody else for not paying their bills? Now you've got a house that you have tenants in, that those tenants gave you a big chunk of money, $5 or $6 or $8 or $10 or $15,000, and now the house is foreclosed on. So in any case, a subject to, a wraparound mortgage, or a note, a straight up mortgage from the seller is much better than a lease. You always want to own, you always want to get the deed if you can. Now what if there's equity? You know, in this instance, and when I say what if there's equity, what if you're buying the house for $200 and the seller only owes $150,000? In a lot of cases, maybe he's selling it to you for $200, he owes $150. Well, that's $50,000 that he wants. What if the seller wants that equity? In a lot of cases, you can negotiate to give him that money at the end of the deal. You can tell him, I'm going to rent the house out to some good folks, I'm going to work with them with their credit, I'm going to help them get their own mortgage. At that point, we're going to pay you off in full, and that's when you're going to get your $50,000. Now, in some cases, that's not good enough. In some cases, they want money up front. How about this? You tell the seller, Mr. Seller, you want $50,000 up front, so go ahead and do this. You own the house free and clear, or you have that much equity. Go get yourself a second mortgage on the house. The lender will give you that $50,000. We'll make the payments on it until we sell it. So, Mr. Seller, now you're getting your $50,000 up front. You can have that $50,000 right now, and the loan goes in his name, not your name, so you're not liable for it. So that's a thought. It sounds outlandish. You may feel a little funny asking people to do it, but I've asked, and they've agreed. Usually it's not that much. Usually the people we deal with, they want 10 grand now and the rest later, or maybe that's all they got in it is 10 grand. So I tell them, just go get a second mortgage, borrow the $10,000, we'll make the payments on it, you get the 10 grand, you walk away, and you're good. And they'll actually go for it. So a couple warnings. When you're buying a house with seller financing, if they still have a loan on the house, try to send your monthly check, not to the seller, try to send your monthly check to the mortgage company that he owes. Tell him, let me make it easy on you, Mr. Seller. Here's your mortgage payment. Instead of me sending that to you and you send it to him, I'm just going to send it directly to them. Why? I want to make sure that that guy makes those payments. I don't want to be responsible for a house and making payments on a house and having a crooked seller putting that money in his pocket. And it happens, okay? If he's a little nervous about that or against that, or the numbers, you're paying him a little bit higher than his mortgage payment, send him a check every month made right out to the mortgage company. He gets the check, that way he knows he's being paid, he sends that check right to the mortgage company, and that way everybody's happy. But you want to make sure your money is going to the underlying loan on that house. You want to be making it right to the mortgage company. And of course, if the guy owns the house outright, don't worry about it. On the next episode, like I said before, we're going to talk about how to talk to the sellers, how to convince them to let you have a house with seller financing, what to say, what benefits to them, and there's a lot of benefits to them. Tax benefits, tax savings benefits, income benefits. There's a lot of reasons why a seller should sell you a house with owner financing. You just got to learn the right way to break it to them. Don't forget, go on the side there or wherever it is and friend me up. Friend me on MySpace, friend me on Twitter, friend me on Facebook. I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to hear from you and say hi every now and then. Also, contact us. You got that little comment space up above, but way up over there somewhere, there's a little link that says contact us or something like that. Click on that, because here's what we want. We want some emails and some letters for our That's the Blanche episode. What's the Blanche? The Blanche is when something goes wrong. So when you've got some episodes or some stories about the Blanche in this business, send it in. We love to read them on air to let people learn from our mistakes. Believe me, I've made plenty, and you're going to probably have a good laugh at my expense over the next couple of weeks. Also, send in some deal evaluations. Click on the contact me, then contact me. Send in some deal evaluations. I'd really love to evaluate some deals to show you guys how we look at deals, how we look at the prices, how we determine how to make our offers and the correct offers to make and what type of deals to use. So if you got some goofy mistakes you've made that others can learn from, or you've got some deals that you think it's a deal, you're not sure it's a deal, but you want to see how I would evaluate it, send those in. We're going to have segments showing that. Thanks for watching. We're glad you chose us to listen to. Come back again, friend me, and we'll see you on the next episode. Now go take some action.